When the state rule and the church teachings are different, what should we do?
If I was a political leader, what comes first? The church teachings or the welfare of the people?
As a voter, do I have specific terms and conditions to follow as a Catholic?
Am I to be a law-abiding citizen or a Catholic?
Can't I be both?
Wait. Are you saying that I can be political and Catholic at the same time?
Hello. Hi, Johnny.
Hello, Neil. Hello. This is yet another episode. Yeah, it's not chai, it's coffee. I know. It's not in alignment with our terminology, but that's okay. I think we can make an exception. I don't usually drink tea.
I have the right
I'm
thing,
a coffee person. Yeah, we won't politically investigate what's actually inside that cup, but okay. Let's just But are you? I mean, considering the topic of today, like, would you call yourself a political Catholic? I mean, what would you call yourself?
I don't know. Politics is one area I'm interested in, I would say, because I'm an art student. I'm a humanities student, so I have a little bit of political studies and all going on. So it does interest me. But am I a political person? I don't know. That's a different question. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. And
hi,
Alicia. Hi, Alicia. Hi to all of you logging in. Please to put in your places, and if you have any highs or hellos, please to put that in as well. Hello, Edward.
What's up, boys? You know what you're doing. Okay. Johnny doesn't want to respond to that. Okay.
So Neil, I mean, have you seen any recent movies that kind of showed? I mean, I'm not really sure if you've seen any movies that show both Catholicism and politics, but have you seen any movies that political movies recently?
I don't think anything recently. It's been a while since I watched a movie itself, so I don't think anything came up recently. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I see. I mean, one component that is within politics are, so I mean, it is sometimes people do say lies, within politics, like how you said, it's been a long time since you have watched a movie. Okay, cool. Okay, let's just again slide that over. Hello, Robin from Delhi. Welcome to the Catholic Chai Talk Show. Yeah.
Yes. So yes, I think it's time we get into a small time of prayer. I mean, just like Johnny was telling, I don't know if politics is a lie. I mean, there are definitely good people. I mean, there are definitely good politicians. Yeah, absolutely. There is no doubt in that. So today's prayer is going to be this beautiful song called "Christ Has No Body Now But Yours." So that is going to be our prayer. Because every politician, every person is called to be the body of Christ, is to call to act just like him. Okay, so here it is. Christ has no body now but yours. No hands, no feet on earth but yours. Christ has no body now but yours. No hands, no feet on earth but yours. Yours are the eyes with which he looks, compassion on this world. Yours are the feet with which he walks. Yours are the hands with which he blesses all the world. Yes, yours are the hands, yours and mine are the hands that he blesses all the world, right? So, so let our politicians and all of us be people who are actually blessing this world by being Christ's bodies and hands and legs and whatever. Okay. Yes. So yes, Johnny.
I just want to put a disclaimer to the audience before we welcome our very esteemed and special guest for today's session. It's sometimes, at least it's my assumption that, especially when I see these news channels, that these matters related or arguments, debates or even discussions, anything, the moment it touches politics, discussions become debates. They become arguments. They become very people start seeing each other as they're just this one step away from throwing something at the other person, even if they are on national television. So I would just like to tell the audience that here it's going to be a very peaceful and gentle conversation here. Hopefully Neil does not say anything that will anger me. Let's hope that does not happen. But so long as that does not happen, we're gonna have a very peaceful and sensible discussion, a conversation over here over a cup of coffee and whatever is in Neil's cup. So yes, Neil, why don't we go ahead and welcome our guest for today?
Yes. Before that, we got to have a tagline for our, today's episode. Normally I've heard this on a particular news channel. The journalists say that India wants to know. So today we're going to say the Catholic wants to know. Okay, so we're going to say that and repeat it a lot. Yes, so the Catholic wants to know. Okay, so by telling that, we're going to invite our guest for the day. We have somebody very, very special with us. So we welcome Dr. Edward Edezhath. He's Chevalier Dr. Edward Edezhath, in fact. So
hi Neil. Hi Johnny.
Hi Dr. Edward.
Yes, we are so happy and honored to have you here with us today. So yes, small introduction about Dr. Edward. Dr. Edward is a retired professor from St. Albert's College in Kochi. He still continues to work there as a researcher, and he's one of the pioneers of the Jesuit movement as well. And yes, I think everybody knows him. He's not an unfamiliar face to people. I think everybody tuning in this show might know, and he's a very popular person also. So once again, welcome Dr. Edward to our Catholic Chai.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Again,
Glad
Dr.
to be
Edward.
with you.
Pleasure's all ours. And for those of you who don't know Dr. Edward, this is your chance. You should get to know this amazing person and listen to the questions and answers that are going to follow. So without further ado, Doctor, the pressing question, or rather the first question: can I be political and Catholic at the same time? Like, these two terms, will they ever go together?
Can I be political and Catholic at the same time? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
I think, at least for many of us, we have to be political if we are Catholic. Actually, at least during the course of our discussion, I will mention some of the teachings of the Church. The Church thinks that, especially people who are in the world like we lay people, we have to be there. If we are not there, we are not Catholic. We are not Christian. We are running away from the world. As Jesus said, it's not you who say, Lord, Lord, who will enter in the kingdom of God, but you will do the will of the Father. That means God's will is that I have to build the kingdom, or I have to be involved in the world in a very positive way, light to the world. So I think we cannot be Catholic if we are not properly involved in politics, isn't it?
I mean, that's fair, Doctor. But again, probably a little bit of a counter question there. So what if we are passive then? Like, we are very active Catholics, but when it comes to politics, or when it comes to even exercising that basic right that we have to vote, what if some of us are passive? Like, we don't just let it affect us, or we're just content watching it on the television and that's it. What if we are passive? Is that wrong? Is that a sin or something like that?
This happens. Sometimes I notice something when there are elections. I think in all over India, when an election comes, that day will be a holiday And most probably that day will be clubbed with a weekend. So sometimes it will be a Monday. Election day is on a Monday. So Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So you get a few holidays. And people think that this is a best time to go for a pilgrimage to Velankani. So I get a good holiday and I can go to a trip to a pilgrimage to Velankani. And I think maybe if you are not aware, maybe God will not consider it as a sin, because sin is also something that comes from my awareness also, my knowledge also. But because that person will be absolved because that person is not having the knowledge. But having the knowledge, I think it's really bad, because I am shirking my big responsibility of participating in building God's kingdom, or this is my share in deciding who should rule. So the church tells us, this is what the church tells us, it is my responsibility to do whatever share I can have. Voting is minimum. Then when I am called for something bigger, a little more. Maybe to participate in my little constituency, there's a discussion, or my village ward level committee. Ward level, they are having a discussion. So all the ward members will be there to decide things in a village, panchayat ward. So when I get a chance, if I don't go, I'm shirking my responsibility. It's wrong. Definitely it's wrong. One thing more, maybe one very important document about the responsibility of lay people is John Paul II's document on Christi Fidelis Laici. That's usually the church documents are in Latin, no? Christi Fidelis Laici. There's an interesting quotation. I always like it from at the very beginning, in the second paragraph itself. Pope speaks of two strong temptations that good Catholics have. Sometimes I ask, if it's a group, what can be a strong temptations that Pope is saying? What can be strong temptations of Catholics? Do you want to take a chance? What would be strong temptations that the Pope is speaking? Just guess.
To go out and evangelize, or get more people to the faith, or something like that. Like
temptation, bad. Something bad. Temptations. Pope is speaking of two temptations that ordinary faithful are not able to overcome. Temptation is something bad. Anyway, usually when I ask, people say that making too much money, or having too much pleasure. No, Pope is saying, I'll just read. Two temptations. One, so strongly interested in church services and tasks that some fail to become actively engaged in their responsibilities in their professional, social, cultural, and political world. You become so interested in church, and you have no time for your responsibilities in cultural world, professional world, and political world. Pope is saying this is a temptation, which is bad. So if you are Jesus, you're so much a Jesus youth, go to prayer meeting, do this and that, and finally you don't have any time for getting involved in politics, getting involved in your panchayat, or to do a vote. Pope says this can be a temptation, something bad. So your question, is it bad? Yes. But if you don't have the awareness, you will be absorbed. That's only what I can say.
Yes. So I think I just want to add on something. We're saying that staying away from this is bad, but what if the situation is different? What if the state or the government is actually against the teachings of the church? Should I be a citizen who is abiding by the law, or should I stick to the teachings of the church?
There are two things. In a long term, why I should get involved, or why we should get involved, is because that is how we can change the government. That is how, by getting involved. I was let me see. I was having a quotation from the old politician, of course. This is okay. Now, if we don't get involved in politics, maybe we will be ruled by people who we don't want. That's it. So one way of getting involved in politics is, that is how, little by little, with a long-term plan, we ensure that we are ruled by nice people, good people. So not only on a personal level, we are not living a personal life. We have friends. We have networks. So those of us who have got leadership should take leadership, getting involved in political setup individually or in parties. Many of us should join parties, get involved in their dynamics. That will not happen in one day. That'll happen in many days. But then, of course, there's another level to it. When there is an issue, where do I stand? I think definitely we have a conscience. There is God's law in us. It's not only about church, but if it goes against the conscience, against my firm principles, now, if I am a person of values, I will not stand. Even Gandhi stood very strongly. Or not only as a Catholic, anyone who has got values, they have to take a stand all the more strongly, because as I am a Catholic, when someone is going against the values, I have to take a stand. There have been martyrs, not only Catholic martyrs, there have been martyrs. Anyone with values will stand strongly. But in short term, be rooted with your values. Long term, involve, get others involved, organize, take leadership. That's how you can change your area, the country, the world. And that's evangelization ultimately.
Okay, but Dr. Edward, I have another question again. So what if I am the leader of that political party? What if I'm the person who's supposed to lead that party, and the values of that party at the moment is not aligned with what the church is teaching? So you were talking about a long-term goal, but then at the moment it's not aligned. So what do I do then? Also, I just want to add something else. I forgot to mention this in the beginning, that Dr. Edward is a candidate. He stood for the elections in 2004 from the Ernakulam constituency. So for the people who do not know, I just wanted to add that also.
Yes, I stood for elections to the parliament as an MP candidate in 2004. I didn't tell you that I failed. Otherwise, I would have been central minister at that time. Okay, I failed I got only 300,000 votes. I got 300,000 votes, but my opponent got 370,000 votes. So we had the difference of 70,000 votes. Okay, so I was failing. Okay, but to your question, I am in politics. I am a leader of politics, but then my party, my government, stands against my firm beliefs, my firm positions. I think many Catholics have faced this dilemma that sometimes they continue to face, and they take 2 or 3 positions. Some people give in. They give in. Other people, they start dialoguing. They start working. And then some people, when they found that they cannot, they said, more than a political position. You must remember, politics means power. Politics means it's all about power and responsibility. It's a field of power. Good example that comes to my mind these days. I was watching this famous film. If you haven't watched, perhaps it's good to watch. A Man for All Seasons. A Man for All Seasons. Oscar winning, I think, 1966 film, A Man for All Seasons. About whom? Any idea? St. Thomas More. Saint Thomas More was the Lord Chancellor of the realm. That means Henry VIII was the king. Saint Thomas More was just next to Henry VIII. And when you study English history, you know other persons also. Henry II and then another Thomas, again, highly positioned. Both of them Catholics. Both Thomases were Catholics. But these Henrys, though Christians. So when he came to a point, St. Thomas More is a very interesting character. I think many of us should read him. A big, learned man, prolific writer, good family man, and great politician. But then when it came to a point, he made it clear, I cannot go against my conscience and my faith. My faith comes first. He was persuaded even by the king. Henry said, Thomas, you are my best friend. Everyone worked around him, even priests and bishops. He said, I cannot go. If I go against my conscience, then who am I? He said. Finally, he said, Lord Chancellor means he is giving the rules or interpreting the rules. He was, condemned to be assassinated. He said, yes, I have to be, very joyfully. And his jokes are very famous, even when he was going to be beheaded. So what I'm saying is, these are different positions. A good Christian, a good Catholic, even a good citizen cannot go against the dictates of the conscience if it comes to that. But it may not always come to that. We must do the work, prepare the ground, and dialogue.
So, Doctor, coming to the actual, even if imagining the day that I'm about to vote, should I keep, is there a couple of things that I need to keep in mind while casting my vote for a leader? Is there some sort of criteria that I should be aware of?
I think it's a very difficult question in one way. But some factors. We always think of, what do we want? We want a party. We want a candidate that stands for the principles, stands for a party and a representative of the party who stands for the true welfare of my country, stands for true principles of integrity. For example, in a country like India, we will ask which party will be best for, of course, economic development, surely, but perhaps more than economic development, who will stand for the leadership of a country like ours, where there are different religions, different ethnicities, and different colors and languages. So we will think of which leadership, which party will be good for it. And then another perhaps also important thing is that which person, if this person is a criminal, if this person, that's why even Supreme Court has been recently ruling that these many candidates, many politicians are avowed criminals. So then who is this person? Is he a person of integrity? So having that person of integrity, good principles, who will really represent me, all these factors will come when I decide to cast my vote. I think it's important.
Yes, agree. So, I think something else, maybe something a little not related to this. We always see that, a lot of social issues, especially in a country like India, with so many different caste systems, so many different languages, so many different boundaries. Social issues are so prominent. It's there everywhere today. And something which happens is that a social issue always becomes a socio-political issue in the end. So as Catholics, as Christians, are we just called to sit and pray for those people who are affected by these socio-political issues? Or should we actually act? Or I think today the young people are mostly into a lot of social media activism. I think reposting things as stories, a lot of things on social media is also happening. But are we just called to post things on social media and just sit in a corner and pray? Or are we called to actually act?
Neil, that's a very good question. In one sense, we always say, let us pray. Something is happening, let us pray. Or let's say, collect rosaries. Or let us, make a prayer chain. And anything is possible through prayer. I don't know whether it's a very Christian response at all. Sometimes I wonder, did Jesus say that? When there is a problem, pray. Did Jesus, where is Jesus saying? Yeah, on the other hand, I think what I have heard Jesus saying is that it's not everyone who says, Lord, Lord, but doing the will of the Father. Or the Lord is asking, I think, and the church is asking us to respond, to take initiative, and to move forward, to take steps. My problem is sometimes we are saying, using this cliche of pray can be one mask of not being ready to discuss what it is, or not really taking a stand. And what is its impact? We don't think that we have any external role to play. We only have to withdraw into ourselves. And I mean, of course, I agree that some people are intercessors primarily and only that. Is the whole world only intercessors? I think that there is something wrong. And I think young people also don't like that. Instead of saying pray, if you are challenged to take a position, to discuss it, to argue about it. What's the problem in arguing about it? What's the problem in having a verbal fight with it? If it is with open, we clarify issues. And if we can go into what action we have to take, what action leads. But if we have hashtag pray only, I think we don't discuss it. We don't actually reflect about it. And we don't go into any creative step or initiative that even God wants us to take. I don't think it's a Christian response to say that there are issues, pray. People are suffering, pray. There's a lot of poverty, pray. Isn't it? There's a lot of poverty. As Christians, what can we do? But we should, with prayer, we should go and visit poor people. With prayer, we should organize perhaps I'm glad that in Jesus Youth, many initiatives are happening that way. We are not just saying pray, but we said, see, there is an earthquake. I'm quoting real examples. There is, as Jesus Youth, what should we do? Which doesn't mean that we are not praying, but we are asking with prayer, we have to intervene. We have to respond. I think this is very, very important.
Okay. Yes, Dr.
Got that, Dr. Edward. So, probably, taking a diversion there, why isn't the Catholic Church a democracy? I mean, since democracy could be considered as one of the best forms of government, so why isn't the Catholic Church a democracy?
I was reading these days about the growth of democracy, how democracy came about, how some of the dynamics in many of the Catholic religious communities, how it became the model. Because in the world, of course, there was some kind of participative government in Greece, you may remember. But it was not the participation of everyone. It was only the slaves were not human beings, women were not human beings, but only people with certain rights were only human beings, and they could come and sit in the civic area, and they could discuss and vote. There was a system. But actually, it was the Catholic Church or Christianity. There was no other church at that time, only Catholic Church, that thought of every individual as important, no matter slave, woman, or anyone, or poor or rich, anyone, any human being is same, created in the image and likeness of God. And then church slowly, there were monarchy and other things. Church slowly developed systems of representative voting, mainly through the works of some monastic communities. They would say that everyone has a vote. And this were transferred to, the British Magna Carta and all that, so little by little, these democratic way of functioning was introduced. So church's understanding is that at least gradually understood that civic society should be ruled by everyone, and everyone's voice must be heard, and that must be through some dynamics, and what we call a democracy today developed that way. But about church itself, I think the dynamics is very, very different. As church understands, it's not here, we don't take decisions about the Holy Mass. How should the Holy Mass be? Or other things. This is not decided on votes or opinion of people, but then this is this community dynamics is certain things are more from the voices, like a parish council or some other councils are there, some other forums are there where voices are heard, consultation is done, and then there is a decision making on consultation. But the major things are not, of course, Pope is also elected. If you want to say it is some kind of a democracy, if you want to say, you can say there is some kind of a representative democracy, vote election of a Pope. But who should be a bishop is not a democratic decision. There were times when it was a democratic decision. So as the church looks at it, these things cannot be decided upon the grassroots popularity of people. It doesn't mean that church is not supporting, but as much as possible, it must be, today it's growing, the thinking that in consultation, listening to the voice, decision must be taken. But in real understanding, it's not decided by people, but it has to come from above, as the church is at different dynamics. I think this is the big difference.
Yes, agree. So I think I have another question which is not exactly related to this, but is it okay for me to be a socialist or a communist? Now, I think a lot of people have a lot of doubts in this. I remember as a teenager, I was very fond of the communist parties. There were a lot of movies coming out in the communist names, and I've always had this craze to be a communist. But then, it was not because I stuck to the ideologies of it, but then it was always very cool to be a communist. So, as a Catholic, is it okay for me to join a party? Yes, Dr.
I think it's a very interesting reality. At least many communists would say that we are closest to Christ's principles than any other ideology. Many communists would say that. We are closer to Christ's ideology because an ideology which says about, equality, participation of wealth, right for everyone to have a part in the wealth, and perhaps equality of wealth and things like that, we are most closer. Like actually Apostles chapter 2, where whatever they had, they considered it in common. They think that. But sometimes we have only difficulty, a major difficulty is that God is not there. There are other difficulties also. I don't go into those things. But then as people look at it, maybe, especially I come from Kerala, where Communist Party once upon a time was really atheistic and against church and any religion. But then it has slowly changed so much. Perhaps whether anything of pure communism, pure Marxism there in today's Communist Party is questionable. So if a person thinks that I am in the Communist Party or a Socialist Party. And he says, and I think I remain here with my Catholic convictions. I really believe in God. I am dedicated to God. But at the same time, I think I have no difficulty in continuing in the party, being active in the work of the party. This is not a theoretical situation. There are hundreds and thousands, even the main church leaders here who are, and for your information, there are so many communist parties, not just one communist party, not one socialist party, each with its different hue. So, and no Catholic finds any difficulty in getting involved in communist party. I have very close friends. I stood elections in Congress party. I have very close friends who are very active in communist party, still who are very dedicated and very active in Catholic Church. They don't find any difficulty. If they don't have any difficulty in reconciling their Catholic faith and the party lines, who has the problem? That's what I ask. Who has the problem? If should I say that originally communism did not have Jesus or God there? Who am I to tell them? Originally, whether it was there or not, and whether it is there or not now is entirely another question. I think people don't find any difficulty, and I have no difficulty.
Got that, Doctor. So, I mean, let's just take the topic of students then. I mean, I have seen quite a couple of movies where, there are these usually fights and arguments and quarrels between student political parties. That happens to be the plot of certain movies. So how important are these student political parties in shaping an individual's mindset regarding political behavior? I mean, is it really possible, and is it important to be actively involved in these socio-political issues, but in the context of, let's say, an educational institution, a college? So, I mean, how important is that, Dr. Edward?
Yeah, Johnny, you're purposely asking a professor because I have faced this, no? I have faced these issues. My college, we had, I recently after Corona, I don't go to college. After my retirement, about 8 years back, I still continue teaching in my institution. I continue, but I have worked about 40 years there. So I've seen generations of issues, generations of political issues and all that. For me, a student has to be very actively interested in politics, involved in leadership, political leadership. But one problem I have found is that parties, they have student wings, and the interest to the party, unfortunately, sometimes is to either infiltrate what they cannot do inside a campus, they want to control from outside. And sometimes these youngsters become just puppets in the hands of some vested interests. And unfortunately, many youngsters, of course, a few youngsters become later leaders. Thank God. Wonderful. But many youngsters, and many a time, the whole ambience, the atmosphere of this institution is vitiated, very much darkened by these external string pulling. And these youngsters have no role, because I have sat with them. They said, sir, when I talk to them, they say that, see, sir, I cannot say anything, because if I say, I will be, that means they are only puppets. That is a pity. And that is not, they cannot take any stance. I can give any number of real examples. If possible, then I would want them to have some grouping, student grouping that they initiate. Wonderful. You initiate, you take leadership, you organize, and when you want to say, I stand for this, you must be able to say, I stand for this. Not saying that somebody asked me and somebody is pulling me, and that somebody can be a terrorist group, that somebody can be any vested interest. And so this institution will be only in chaos, where the primary goal of a formation of youth and study of a youth and even political formation of a youth is torpedoed. So what do I want? I want students to be actively involved, taking leadership with a political overtone, and take leadership in organizing. But don't be puppets in the hands of external agencies and limit yourself to just, paper thin dolls. That's dangerous.
Yes, that is very clearly. I think we are running out of time, so we'll quickly go into the audience questions. We have a lot of audience questions coming in, so can we have the first question? Yes, the first question is from Jibin G. Edezhath, a straightforward question in the context of Indian politics. Can a Christian be part of RSS or BJP, which can find its ideology based on Vicharadhara by MS Golwalkar? I don't know who that person is.
Yeah, I know. This is somebody who wants to see the last days of Christianity, last days of Christians in India, and RSS and BJP who are following that ideology. Can we be part of it? Anyway, these ideologues are not living there. They are no more. Perhaps they are founding their these political works on that. I will not be able to be part of it. I will not be able to be part of it. I will have possibilities. But then one person is saying that, see, my presence there, and when it comes to any value conflict, then I will take a decision. As it is there, I am welcomed there. So I am working there. And this is a theoretical thing that they may say that any party, if you look at it, it will have something that others cannot get along. So if one person says, this is not theoretical again, so many Catholics are involved in BJP. And so many Catholics at least take sympathy. They think that it is better to be in it than opposite. They think that that's the best way. That is my Christian mission, to be there to change it, or to influence it, or to lessen the damage. If they think, who am I to question it? That's what they think. And I believe that at least they think that that's what the Lord is asking them. Who am I? It's up to them. I will not be. I will have difficulty. But people justify. People have their own thinking, and they are justified.
Yes.
Thank you, Doctor. The next question by the same person. So then what should be the Christian response for CAA induced through NRC?
CAA is a very dangerous thing. And I think we have taken a very strong stand, as opposing it, or at least realizing its danger and working against it. Naturally, I am, to the previous question also, I am not saying that we should stand for it. We should be pulling the line of these parties. But then I think our best way is that as young people, we must be politically conscious. We must be really reading and understanding contemporary issues and their implications. Two, if possible, find forums we can discuss. If you have any kind of leadership, create forums where you can discuss it. Online forums, but if possible, more physical forums. Then, in whatever way possible, organize. Then, whenever possible, take a stand either with those who are taking a stand, or in your own way, organize people and take a stand. I think as Christians, perhaps the Lord will not ask you in the end, did you pray? Because Matthew chapter 25, we are familiar. The Lord asked, I gave you these 5 talents. What did you do with 5 talents? So my 5, I am scared. So I prayed and sat at home. I've said 250,000 rosaries, Lord. That's in another way of saying that all these things I buried. I think in issues like this, with our talents and with our interests and inspirations, we have to take a stand. That's our very important Christian responsibility towards these dangerous positions. I think let's discuss, take stand, if possible, whenever possible, show at least some solidarity with those who are opposing. If I'm scared to go take the front line, at least stand in the back line. If you don't do it, it's dangerous.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Edward. So the next question. Okay, the next question is, even amongst the Catholics, we find extremists and liberals. Where do we find the balance between these and become neither a Christian terrorist nor a Sunday Christian?
Yeah, I think I already said how to go about, my thought of how to go about. But I think terrorism becomes the problem when you find 2 things. When you are so narrow in your attitude, when you're not ready to see the other side or discuss with the other side, then finally you resort to damaging tactics, including violence. So, terrorism is not good. Now, running away, fleeing is also no good. Flight and fight. Rather, a creative response. A wholesome, creative response is what we want. And a creative response is possible. That's what I was saying. How to have a creative response. We must be open. We must be ready to dialogue with seemingly opposing people. We must create links with the others. So don't be in your Catholic circles alone. If you're anyway interested in public and political stances, then you must have friends in other circles. Other circles means different parties, different religious leanings, and which is natural. We live in such situation. We are not primarily Catholic. We are primarily people who are born in a family, living in a neighborhood, and interacting with people. Don't kill it in the name of Catholicism. Don't pull yourself into a church community or Jesus Youth Prayer Group and things like that. While you are active, rooted in a place, be in your natural world. This is what the church is also asking. Be in the natural world. Be naturally interacting. So we will not be people who are Sunday Catholics alone, or neither terrorists, taking extreme stance. But have a natural, joyful, natural life in the society that we are. But as per our leadership, take more of an active role wherever you are. I think that's best.
Yes.
I don't think I'll forget those terms, Christian terrorist or Sunday Catholics. Okay. Very, very creative that was. So moving on to the next question. A question by Anna. We often observe that we have become very inclusive when it comes to empathizing with others. That we only empathize if the victims of persecution or torture belong to the Christian community.
I know this can be, this is such a narrow position, no? Not only Christian community. If you are a Christian, you know that there is no one Christian community. We are Catholics, Orthodox, Protestant. We are this right, Syro-Malabar, Syro-Malankara, Latin. We are Orthodox Syrian, Syrian Orthodox, endless. So, Mera, if my colored person, I am sympathetic. I think this can be not a Christian approach, very selfish approach. And you are not made to have any or take any Christian leadership. At least to the younger generation, I'm saying, let us have the attitude of Christ. The attitude where everyone around me is created in the image and likeness of God. Everyone. So standing for, I think that's why I often think that if you're interested in India and politics, learn Gandhi a little bit. Read Gandhi and understand Gandhi a little bit. Not only because I'm working in a Gandhian organization, I'm very active in a Gandhian organization. Tomorrow we have tomorrow and day after, big meetings, and I'm a speaker there. Gandhi's vision of India and Gandhi's vision of villages and things like that. So we have to get out of these little, wells, like a frog in a little well. Get out of it. Naturally, we are in the university, wherever we work, continue that. That is the real Christian work, and that's what really Christianity wants us to do also. Maybe your local Christian priest or someone will say that first you should be active at home, saying that think only of our community. I think, of course, if my brother or sister is sick, I will immediately know it and help. But let's not limit to that. Let's have a open heart, open hands, and be helpful to the others. Very important.
Yes, got it. Can we move to the next question? Okay, the next question is from the same handle called Harry Potter Frick. How can a youngster come out as a politician or civil service person, etc., in a society which considers success is equal to good job, settled abroad, happy family?
Very true. You put it so nicely. I think ask your dad or mom. Mom, I want to be a politician. What is good? What's wrong with you? Go to this course, this academic course, study well, then go abroad or get a job that will fetch such a salary. I think all of us will train our children to be that. So anything else we don't want. I think this is the problem. This is the biggest danger that's happening in our country, where the best people are not interested in the affairs of the state, nor he's also in civil service, in government jobs. Government job is difficult. He would rather go to a private, comfortable job. We have a generation is growing that way. Go abroad or good, corporate jobs, corporate positions, and work parallelly. This public sphere is something that's not for me. It's dirty. There is politics in it. There are pulls and other things. We are not, and we have to mix with these dirty people. This attitude is growing. I think a Christian attitude, if you ask me, or any valued attitude, is to be, yes, I am interested in this. I will get involved in it. How beautiful it will be if you have that attitude. And only such an attitude can change our country. We speak of brain drain. Now nobody speaks about that brain drain. But then there is really personality drain or brain drain, not only from India to the West, but brain drain from the public sphere in these decision-making areas. If only these, our chats, these are political Catholic or Catholic chai chat, could challenge one or two people at least. I am interested in getting involved. When there is at least my corporation ward level representatives discussion, I want to go. Or my panchayat, there is a discussion. or when there is a political meeting, I just want to go and sit there and get bored there. If somebody takes a step, I think finally the Lord will say, wonderful, my child. You have done something very beautiful. This is my will. And there'll be a very positive step.
Yes.
Hopefully more and more folks would be inspired to do that, instead of just avoiding and running away, as you said, or even to be sort of on the offensive and directly fight. If we can find that middle ground and be sensible about it, hopefully. Can we have the next question, please? So Lizzie asks, we have a lot of Catholic organizations, groups and movements where youngsters are given faith formation with respect to different aspects. How important is the awareness of socio-political issues? The next part, how important is the awareness of socio-political issues, civic engagement and participation, and the importance of the role played by elders and seniors in bringing youngsters to such an awareness? Pretty big question.
Very beautiful. Beautiful question. I have a quote from, Second Vatican Council. In Second Vatican Council, especially Gaudium et Spes, its English title is The Church in the Modern World. The document, famous document, The Church in the Modern World, famous document by Second Vatican Council. And in it, if you by any chance read paragraph 75, read paragraph 75, where there's a big discussion on why politics, how we should get involved in politics. And in that paragraph, the church is saying, this is the whole bishops from all over the world got together and they are speaking. Great care must be taken about civic and political formation, which is of the utmost necessity today for the population as a whole, and especially for youth, so that all citizens can play their part in the life of the political community. So the church is saying very officially that young people should be given good formation to get involved in politics, in the political dialogue, in the political dynamic, because we need training, we need formation. So when Lizzie is asking, what I want to say is that perhaps in groups like ours, in the parish, in the diocese, or in movements like ours, there must be places where we really receive good discussion, awareness. Formation means awareness, then some skills, then opportunities for exposure. These things will happen. And then continue. I'm reading again. Those who are suited or can become suited should prepare themselves for the difficult, but at the same time, the very noble art of politics. So those who are suited, if you have any talent for politics, interest for politics, or you think that I'm not good at it now, but in future I can be good at it, the church is saying this noble art, the noble art of politics, and should seek to practice this art without regard for their own interests or for material advantage, not to make money, big villa, not to become a minister only. I may become a minister, but then I really want to make a difference in this country. So we need training, but this training can only come if I am interested. So church is speaking, you are asking what does the church want? I think there are innumerable places the church is really urging Catholics to be active in politics, not for the church, but for the country and the world. So formation is important. We elders, what should be our role? Lizzie's second question. I think we should, sometimes we must say that mea culpa, or our fault. We have not given enough encouragement and training. Personally, whenever somebody comes and asks, these days also, Panchayat elections are coming in my state. And one person was calling me, parties are urging me. So somebody said, call Edward sir, because he has stood for elections. He will tell you never stand for elections. So she called me. I said, you have to. First thing is, you think that if a call comes, this is my God-given responsibility. Then comes, what are the negative things? The first response is, if you are called, get ready. There are challenges. You may fail. I failed. I lost tons of money, but I don't regret. So I think formation is important. Formation should be given.
Yes, got it. So yeah, can we go to the next question? Yes, the next question is from the handle called Travel with Joseph. Certain organizations and institutions, especially religious ones, do not take a stand on socio-political issues. How can we encourage them to take a stand? Why is it important to take such a stand?
I think usually there is a problem. Many people will ask. See, when I am part of an organization, then as a leader, if I take a strong political stand or party stand, sometimes there may be other party members who are of opposing political affiliations. So maybe on issues, a discussed and enlightened, stances and attitudes are very important in Christian organizations. But then, for example, in an election, perhaps church will never say, you vote for this party. Church shouldn't say. Maybe other religions and other organizations, but Catholic Church will never tell everyone, vote for this candidate, but only certain values or certain approaches, certain considerations are brought to your attention, and often it is emphasized that you have to vote, you have to take part. So I think that is one thing. But then taking positions on some of these issues, I think what we can do is that encourage, initiate positive discussion with the knowledge of the leadership. Sometimes we must conscientize the leadership. For example, if it's my parish, without the understanding of the parish priest and parish church leadership, I cannot initiate discussions. So I must slowly develop some kind of influence and leadership so that I can have the trust of my leaders. And in a positive way, we can have discussions. We can take stands. If needed, go into action. We need such socio-political leadership amidst ourselves. Especially, I know that the majority of those who are listening to me here will be young people. Prepare yourselves. I am thankful that in many of the forums when I speak, even those who are in leadership says, yes, they don't look at me not just as a politician, but they look at me as a person who will sensibly present a thing and initiate a discussion and ready to listen to the other side. So we need such leadership, such initiators of steps we need. But as he's asking, we have to have conscious discussions and taking stand in these situations. Very important.
So by the same person again, Doctor, so then why doesn't Jesus Youth take a stand when issues like CAA and NRC happened?
I think Jesus Youth so far has not taken any socio-political stand. If we say, we have not taken any socio-political stand because we think that we are not a public association, but we see ourselves as a grassroots private association with a charism. Our charism is very clear. Our charism is very clearly forming young people to be Catholic evangelizers. We are trying to be faithful to our focus. But in this part, we would be so glad if people can be active in organizations that has charism for a social intervention. Our charism is not social intervention, not even social service, though we have social service platforms. you must be aware of Malayal Karan or Outreach Child Support or Jeevana Samruddhi and Friend in Need. But we don't see as these are only some of the affiliates. These are not our core areas. So we needn't take a political stand, but then many of us, for example, I am very active in a place and I take active stand. I already mentioned, I am active in, and I speak there, I discuss there. Tomorrow, I'm going to speak in a forum, big forum. And these days I'm active involved. So what is needed is not Jesus Youth as a movement taking a stand politically or political issues and social issues, but then we form young people so that those who have got a charism and interest will get involved in such outfits where they should take a stand. I think that is better. Otherwise, we will divide ourselves on these political lines, create unnecessary tensions here. But this is not our charism. This is not Jesus Youth is for. I think so.
Yes, understood. So I think we can go to the next question. Next question is from Hoop TV. I've heard that Jesus Youth asks people to stand back from frontline when they make huge political stands, or even when they point out wrong teachings of well-known religious teachers. Why?
I think I don't know whether we have had a discussed and strategized step. But then we don't, again, just continuing from what I'm already speaking. Perhaps when I stood for elections, but when I stood for elections, many of Jesus Youth joined with me. But then I was very careful that the name Jesus Youth or my positions in Jesus Youth never come in play in the discussions in a political field. We are in a secular world where projecting my religious affiliations are not welcome or not even good. So when we actively play big roles in such issues, I think it's important that if we are in such positions, maybe we soft pedal those areas. Or if you're going to be really actively involved in it, perhaps we step down from very important positions and get involved there. I think that'll be a good practice. Otherwise, here, maybe even some of the unnecessary words that we utter will be seen as the movement speaking. We will be putting on stake poor people, those who are in Jesus Youth, which I shouldn't do. For example, I already said, I am the state vice chairman of Gandhi Darshan Vedi. Now, tomorrow I will be introduced for a big public. I wouldn't want me to be introduced as Jesus Youth, as you introduced me here. No, I don't want me to be, or not even as a Catholic. I'm not there as Jesus Youth or a Catholic or anything, but I'm there as one who stood for elections. Maybe my interest in political field, my writer as a political issues, etc. So I think it's very important that we don't or we don't endanger or irritate people who are committed here by our political stance. But others may think very differently. So I think there we also have a responsibility not to, too much trouble those who are inside here, because they may find it. For example, you're asking if I start vehemently criticizing in the church, somebody in the church, and I say that I'm doing it as a Jesus Youth leader, I think most of us don't want me to, in the name of Jesus Youth, or to be seen as me as a Jesus Youth fighting against the church. That's not our role. So these are the touchy issues there.
Yes. We'll quickly go to the next question. The next question is from Chris Colacco. Can a priest or a religious get involved in politics? If so, how far?
And alongside with that, Doctor, just a personal question also, can along with their involvement, I would just like to add on, can a priest or a religious, can they endorse a political leader as well? I mean, both of these dimensions.
From my understanding, this was a big question. During my younger days, there was a movement called liberation theology in Catholic Church. And many, especially I understand from South America, many priests and religious were in the forefront. If you watch movies on Pope Francis, some of the problems that he had to solve in South America during his, as a provincial of Jesuit society. I think the church does not encourage priests and religious to be actively involved in political parties or political stances. But then on religious issues or moral issues, perhaps leading people is important. Other than that, it's what may seem to be. So that I don't think a church will allow a priest to stand for elections as usually. I think there's a big difference between the role of a lay person vis-a-vis as against priest and religious. As a lay person, I am in the world, I am called to live in the world, and I am called to witness in the secular world. That's why we have been discussing, the popes have been telling us, if you remain in church alone, it's a temptation, get out of here. Come to parish, come to Jesus Youth, actively receive your nourishment here, but get out, go, you're professional, where you're working, do something there. Work with people of all other religions. Get involved in scientific research. Get involved in film, art, music, not as a Catholic, but as any citizen. But primarily not a priest or religious. A priest or religious is taken a special step to, in one way, give up this lay state and enter into a special role inside the church. So I think there's a big difference here. I think the distinction is very clear.
Yes, got it.
So I think we'll make this the concluding question then, since we're a little above time. A question by Jijo. Today, politics is taking support of religious community. In such times, will it be right to say that the Christian community, also a minority community, should stand along with any political party? And also stand for its minority rights? Yeah.
Rights, yes. But then each party wants our support. I think, see, when I stood for elections, others will give me, they will, all will advise you when you stand for elections. One problem is that you have to give your ear to everyone. Everyone is advising you. And one of the advices that I've heard repeatedly to me, sir, you must remember, a religious nun and a prostitute, each is one vote. No difference. You understand what I'm saying? So, when you are seeking a vote, you don't think about the chastity or the holiness of a person. You want a vote, that's what you want. And you want the vote of everyone. So, on a time of voting, the political party, what is the first agenda coming to power? They will play any card. They will play any tactics when they are facing elections. So if you ask for money, if they can afford, they will give you money. Or if they want, at this time we are asking that our church wants this. If possible, they will give you that. If they think that with that they will get 10 more votes. But what I'm saying is political parties will want any group, including the church, to stand with them. But it's a dangerous game to, put our head into the guillotine of anyone. I think church will not, if possible, should not just to be seen as traveling with one party. But then our rights, what is minority rights? Other rights are our religious rights, our rights to exist in this country as a group, any group. So we must dialogue, we must speak with all parties for our rights, all kinds of rights. This is enshrined in the Constitution, so we should know. The Constitution ensures us, especially in India, we have our rights. We must learn our rights, and then we must demand from our political parties that you have to give us. Voting is something else. That is, individually we may join with everyone. A good thing is that church should be participating with all the parties if possible, dialoguing with all the parties if possible. But then we must be standing for the rights and much more standing for our life as a community with freedom. Not only our rights, everyone's rights. So, beautiful.
Thank you, Doctor. That was a really informative discussion that we had right here. So I think it's time to wind up for today. And once again, thank you so much, Dr. Edward, for taking this time out and for coming on our show and for those very informative and some of those answers were really out of your personal experience. So once again, thank you so much, Dr. Edward, for joining us today.
Thank you. I enjoyed. It was beautiful. Neil and Johnny really enjoyed, and all those who participated here. My only word to you is that get involved in politics, get interested in politics in whatever way possible. Slowly read, understand, and if possible, enter into politics. All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. I think today we had a very beautiful time, and as we conclude this time of discussing about politics, and I think it is very clear that we are called to be a Catholic politician, or as just like our title was, that's exactly what we are called to do. So as we end this time, we make the prayer. Glory be to the Father, to the Son,
and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and as it shall be, world without end. Amen.
Amen. And our patron, Blessed Carlos Acutis, pray for us.
So once again, our dear audience, we're so happy that for all those questions that you asked, clearly shows us the amount of interest. I think as Dr. Edward mentioned, interest is where it begins, and then slowly we can move on to that stage wherein we can actively and consciously involve in this political arena. So thank you so much for your questions. If at all you have any more questions, please do. And for all the upcoming shows, our Instagram handle by now, it's The Catholic Chai. You also know our YouTube handle. And just in case any one of you have forgotten to do so, if you're watching our show on YouTube, you might see a small or a little rather big red button that says subscribe. Please do hit subscribe so that you are updated on our next and upcoming episodes. And thank you so much, dear audience, for logging in today to watch today's episode on the political Catholic, because the Catholic wants to know. So yes. This is Johnny Baby and
Neil George.
Neil George signing off until the next episode. God bless each and every one of you. Take care.
Bye.